Racism is very likely to die out within the next 20 years globally. I have my reasons for saying this, of course. Now, there are people who will argue against this. There are some who will say things like racism isn't even real, even though we all know it is, but there are those who live in denial. And there are also those who believe that this is simply a part of human nature and it will exist forever. But I'm going to explain why they are wrong. Racism has existed in many different forms for many hundreds, thousands of years. We've lived in an era where we've been divided by race, ethnicity, by religion, and by borders. The fact of the matter is that we are now entering a time in the history of humanity that we have never entered before. So, of course, racism is the belief that one is superior to another on the basis of their race, on the basis of their ethnicity, on the basis of their skin colour. It is the belief that we are divided on the basis of our race, skin colour, and ethnicity. This has been natural to humanity for a long time, but it has become unnatural to humanity because we cannot progress forward as a civilization, as a species, unless racism is eradicated. Now, it's existed in many different awful types of forms, whether it's been segregation in different countries, which unfortunately still exists to this day. In the age of empires, you would have Western empires who would enslave black people. You would also have North African slavers who would enslave white people. And this went on for hundreds of years too. But then something shifted. We had two world wars in very close proximity to each other, World War I and World War II. This wasn't just a major sacrifice so that people could fight for our freedom and also to give us the freedom and the lives that we have today. It was also to set the tone for what is to come. Now, World War II, the world saw very clearly what happened and how devastating the consequences were when a group of people believed in their own racial superiority and then acted on it in a military sense, in a social sense. The devastation that Hitler caused was of such gravity that, of course, millions of lives were lost. And we still remember to this day. And of course, this is another important reason why it's so important to remember those who fought for us in the past, because the sacrifice they made wasn't just on a surface level, it was on a much deeper level too. Since World War II happened, we've had a slow progression towards talking about race and talking about racial issues, whether that would have been the civil rights movements over in the United States or gradual race relations over in Britain, for example, growing better. This is what we've been naturally progressing towards. Now, there are three particular generations who will end racism for good within the next 20 years, I believe. The first were the millennials. Now, the millennials were born between 1981 and 1996. These are the people who dismantled the system. They were there who questioned the system. Then came Generation Z. Now, this was like a more hostile, aggressive version of the millennials, and they were born between 1996 and 2004. Generation Z have no tolerance for racism. They have no tolerance for injustice. They have no tolerance for racism. They have no tolerance for that type of thing. You have to remember as well that these generations are the ones who have grown up with technology as well. And technology has created and forged friendships and relationships across the world that was never possible before. And then we have the last generation, the third generation, which is Generation Alpha, born between 2005 and 2025. This generation will be the one that puts an end to it for good. This will be the technological generation. These are children now, they're babies, but they are going to grow up in a world where racism is not just a thing of the past, but is an embarrassment almost. It will be associated with what's known before. Racism cannot exist without the foundation in society. That foundation started to be destroyed with the start of the world wars. Slowly and progressively, it is being dismantled in society. That is why we're experiencing all this chaos and upheaval right now. Because what we are witnessing is the dying gasp of a system and a structure that is on its knees. These generations have very little tolerance for racism, for racial inequality, for anything which is based on identity and not actual social structure. They do not like it. Now, obviously, I want to stress that I'm not talking about individuals here. You have exceptions in all generations. You have older people who have the mindsets of younger generations, and you also have younger people who have older mindsets. I am speaking generationally and I'm speaking collectively that this is the way that humanity is progressing. Perhaps my timing could be a little off, I do not know. But one thing is for certain, is that the old prejudices that have ruined this world in so many ways, which have destroyed humanity in so many ways in the past, they are coming to an end. Those divisions cannot survive in a society where the foundation for it has already been dismantled. And that is the future that awaits humanity.